Lesson 12, Esther and Mordecai. Memory text. I will give you as a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth. Isaiah chapter 49 verse 6. There are historical and contextual factors that contributed to the Jewish presence in Persia, both before and after the events described in the book of Esther. Jews, like other groups, may have found economic opportunities and commercial activities within the empire that provided a livelihood for them. Persian kings were known for religious tolerance. This likely contributed to the coexistence of Jews within the Persian Empire. Some Jews may have integrated into Persian society, found acceptance among the local population, and had a sense of belonging and stability. According to the book of Esther, Mordecai and Esther lived in Persia during the reign of King Xerxes I, also known as King Ahasuerus. The events described in the book of Esther are traditionally dated to the 5th century BCE. Esther, a Jewish orphan, was among the young women selected to participate in the king's beauty contest, and she eventually became queen. Mordecai, her older cousin, played a significant role in the story. The book of Esther recounts how Esther, with Mordecai's guidance, thwarted a plot to exterminate the Jewish people, orchestrated by a high-ranking official named Haman. This led to the celebration of the festival of Purim, which commemorates the deliverance of the Jewish people from this threat. The biblical account focuses on the providential role they played in saving the Jewish community from destruction. It shows us that we can remain faithful to God as a witness, no matter where we are living.
Captive in a foreign culture. Although many people move to foreign countries for many reasons, most of us have not. We cannot really imagine how it would be for a devout Jew living in ancient Persia. The Jews had lived in a land where religion was interwoven into the law. We might think it would be easier to remain faithful to God in such a situation. Remember that the Jewish nation continued to fall away from God and into idolatry. Jesus made it clear that true faith comes from the heart, not from following rules. Matthew chapter 23 verse 23, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Those that set their hearts on God, and are determined to be faithful with the Holy Spirit, can be faithful in any environment. Daniel chapter 1 verses 1 to 12 highlights Daniel and his friends' commitment to remaining faithful to their religious convictions, even in a foreign land. Their trust in God and their adherence to the dietary laws resulted in God's favor, and they were able to maintain their faithfulness in the midst of challenging circumstances. Daniel chapter 3 verses 1 to 12 illustrates the unwavering faith of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, even in the face of a life-threatening situation. Their commitment to worship and serve God above all else, regardless of the consequences, is a powerful example of faithfulness in the midst of adversity. Daniel chapter 6 verses 1 to 9 tells of Daniel's unwavering commitment to his faith and his refusal to compromise his worship of God, even in the face of a potentially deadly consequence. The story continues in Daniel 6, demonstrating God's miraculous intervention to protect Daniel in the lion's den and the ultimate vindication of Daniel's faithfulness. Seek God's guidance and discernment in navigating challenging cultural environments. Pray for strength, courage, and wisdom to remain faithful in the face of difficulties. Understand that your primary allegiance is to God, and prioritize Him above cultural expectations.
In a foreign court. The book of Esther opens with King Xerxes ruling over Persia, presiding in Susa. Big feasts and parties set the stage. The king asked Queen Vashti to make an appearance at his party, and she refused. This caused her to fall out of favor with the king, and she was dethroned. He now sends out a decree looking for a replacement. In response to the king's decree, young women were gathered from throughout the empire to be considered for the position of queen. Esther was among the young women taken to the palace for the selection process. Mordecai played a role in Esther's life by advising her not to reveal her Jewish identity, likely to protect her from potential discrimination or hostility towards those of the Jewish religion. Esther won favor in the eyes of Hegai, the king's eunuch in charge of the harem. She pleased the king, and he favored her above all the other women. While Esther was in the palace, Mordecai continued to walk near the courtyard to inquire about her well-being. She continued to keep her Jewish heritage a secret, following Mordecai's advice. It's important to note that the decision to keep one's faith private is highly personal and context-dependent. It can be influenced by a combination of external pressures, concerns for safety, and individual beliefs about the appropriate expression of religious identity in a given context. Some individuals might choose to keep their faith private in professional or educational settings to avoid consequences. Family members might have different religious beliefs.
Mordecai's faithful witness. Esther chapter 3 verses 1 to 15 describes an event where Haman, an official in the Persian Empire, plots against the Jewish people. King Xerxes promotes Haman to a position of great authority and commands that all at the king's gate should bow down to him. Mordecai refuses to bow down to Haman. This act of defiance enrages him. When Mordecai refused, we can be quite sure that his explanation somehow revealed he was a Jew and could not remain faithful to God by bowing down. Haman decides that killing only Mordecai is not enough. He seeks to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire Persian Empire. Haman decides that killing only Mordecai is not enough. He seeks to destroy all the Jews throughout the entire Persian Empire. To determine the best day for this, Haman casts lots, Purim in Hebrew, leading to the date for the planned genocide. Haman then tells King Xerxes about a certain group of people scattered throughout the empire who do not obey the laws. He suggests that they should be annihilated. Haman offers a large sum of money to the royal treasury in exchange for permission to carry out his plan. The king, without knowing the specific group of people, agrees to Haman's proposal. Letters are sent to all the provinces of the Persian Empire, instructing officials to destroy, kill, and annihilate all the Jews, both young and old, women and children, on the appointed day. Christians might experience discrimination or persecution for their beliefs in society. Respond with love and grace. Jesus taught to love even those who persecute you. Pray for those who mistreat you, and maintain a steadfast faith in the face of adversity. Trust in God's sovereignty and remember His peace that surpasses understanding. Be bold in sharing the love of Christ. Trust in the Holy Spirit to guide your words and actions. Approach others with humility and a genuine desire for their well-being.
For such a time as this. In Esther chapter 4 verses 1 to 14, Esther seems to grasp the idea that her position as queen may not be a mere coincidence. Mordecai suggests to her that perhaps she has come to the kingdom for such a time as this, indicating a belief in divine providence. Esther appears to accept this notion, understanding that her role in the Persian court could serve a greater purpose in the salvation of her people. Esther's willingness to approach King Xerxes, despite the potential consequences of entering his presence without an invitation, demonstrates a deep sense of courage. She is risking her life to intercede on behalf of her people, trusting that her actions are guided by a higher calling. Esther's decision to identify herself as a Jew and risk her life for the sake of her people reflects a sense of responsibility and care for the well-being of the Jewish community. Her faith is manifested in her commitment to stand up for what is right, even when faced with personal danger. Esther's relationship with Mordecai, her cousin, is significant. She listens to Mordecai's counsel and respects his wisdom. This suggests a trust in the guidance of those around her, and, by extension, a belief in the importance of collective wisdom and support. While the book of Esther is not overtly theological, these aspects of Esther's actions and choices convey a sense of faith in a higher purpose. She has a willingness to take risks for the greater good, and an acknowledgement of the significance of her role in the unfolding events. Esther chapter 4 verse 16. Go, gather together all the Jews who are in Susa, and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish. It's important to note that the emphasis in the Bible is not on the outward ritual of fasting alone, but on the heart, sincerity, and faithfulness in seeking God. Fasting and prayer are meant to be expressions of genuine and earnest desire for closer spiritual connections with God.
The miracle of Purim. As stated before, the book of Esther is not openly religious. We can believe, as the Jews, that their deliverance is miraculous, attributed only to divine intervention. Despite the potential consequences for approaching the king without being summoned, Esther courageously went before King Xerxes and invited him and Haman to a series of banquets. During one of the banquets, Esther revealed her Jewish identity and informed the king about Haman's wicked plan to destroy her people. Esther pleaded with King Xerxes to spare her people, emphasizing the unjust nature of Haman's decree. She requested the king's intervention to save the Jews. King Xerxes was angered by Haman's deception and manipulation. Subsequently, Haman was hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. With the king's support, Esther and Mordecai were granted the authority to issue a counter-decree, allowing the Jews to defend themselves against those who sought to harm them. Esther chapter 8 verse 17. In every province and in every city to which the edict of the king came, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating, and many people of other nationalities became Jews, because fear of the Jews had seized them. Esther's bravery, strategic approach, and appeal to the king played a pivotal role in thwarting Haman's plot and ensuring the safety of the Jewish people. The events are commemorated annually in the Jewish festival of Purim. Very few people within the population of the Persian Empire might have seen the events in Esther's story as divinely guided. Most others would have perceived them as the outcome of human agency and political maneuvering. As Christians, we must acknowledge that some seemingly normal or natural events can indeed be caused by divine intervention. Pray that God will give you the courage to share something He has done for you with one of the people on your prayer list this week. Begin a diary or journal of special little things or big things that God does for you. Review it and pray that God will bring these things to your mind at just the right time so you can share them with someone.